Hey, do you want to know all the important stuff about the Mahindra Pik-Up, like what goes wrong with them, what they're like to live with and drive now that they're used? Most importantly, but do you want to know if you should buy one or not? Let's find out. Okay, to put you in the picture here, the Mahindra Pik-Up, or maybe the Scorpio, depending on where you're watching this from, could maybe be thought of as a bit like the Wish or the Aldi version of the 70 Series Land Cruiser, although to many this thing is still like a tough workhorse of a ute, whereas the 70 Series or 79 Series has become a bit more of a fashion statement. But just like the 79 Series, not to mention a whole bunch of other iconic off-roaders, the Pik-Up is built on a ladder frame chassis with independent coil springs up front and a rigid rear axle with leaf springs at the rear. Now the Pik-Up first landed in Australia way back in like 2007, but in this video we're just going to be focusing on the post-2016 models, mainly because there are way more of that generation on the used market, plus these were substantially updated over those older models. Actually, just on those updates, it feels like these were not only updated kind of year on year, but almost like every shipment on shipment. And depending on that year model, this generation is available in a couple of body styles and generally with four-wheel drive, although there have been a handful of rear-wheel drive variants out there. And speaking of models, technically there have been mainly three, but depending on the year model, there might be some plus models, not to mention a couple of special editions as well. And that's not to mention any kind of dealer-specific variants, not to mention as well, loads of these on the used market do feature a whole bunch of different accessories, but we're going to cover all of that in a minute. Now, engine-wise, all of these feature a 2.2-litre turbo diesel, although some models, that engine has been updated. And also, up until recently, this engine was bolted exclusively to a 6-speed manual transmission with a low-range transfer case and an Eaton mechanically locking diff. But as of 2022, an automatic model has also become available on the S11 models. And then we get to the really appealing part of these, the price. Really early, high kilometre examples in interesting condition, they're asking under $20,000. But at the other end of the spectrum, mint condition ones with all the bells and whistles, even they're asking, a lot of them, under 50 grand. So theoretically, based on the current asking prices on the Australian used market, you could either have one fully kitted out 79 Series or 5 of these. Actually, speaking of buying one of these, if you are in the market for not just one of these, but any new or used car, make sure you click the driver link down there. That way, Driver will get you the very best customized finance package. The entire thing's done easily online. You can get pre-approval in just minutes. And if you do all that via that link, you're gonna get $150 worth of free fuel. Now, you know how there are people out there that think dogs that look like this are attractive? Well, surely that means that there are people out there that think this is good looking too. Look, I'm not sure why Mahindra have kind of gone with this aesthetic. Like it's boxy, but it's not quite boxy enough. Like surely they could have made it look a bit more like an old school Land Rover Defender, or maybe even like the Ineos Grenadier Ute thing. But in saying that, there is one thing about the looks of this that I absolutely love. It's that there's pretty much no chance that anyone's gonna buy this as some kind of inner city lifestyle ute bought to just stroke their ego. It looks and even feels just like a dedicated work tool, and I love it for that. Now, the whole not caring about style thing continues inside, but the funny thing is, it's so like anti-style that it kind of works in here. I just wish, like the exterior, Mahindra had lent into the utilitarian thing a little bit more. Like they could have beaten Ineos to the punch for like hardcore purposeful interiors. Here's a shot of the Ineos interior, and here's this. Now, look, materials wise, they can vary a little bit depending on the trim spec you're looking at. This is a base spec S6, and as to be expected, everything's hard plastics, everything's kind of black and gray. But that's what this is about. It's a work truck. It shouldn't feel luxurious, and it certainly doesn't. But look, comfort-wise, really comfy. These seats are fantastic. Driving position is really good. I thought it might feel like an old school Defender where you just feel horrible driving it all the time and end up with like a ruptured spleen. This, it's actually, yeah, really comfy. Now, as far as wear and tear goes, I've got to put you in the picture here. This is owned by Valley Express. They're a courier and freight company in the Hunter Valley servicing mines and whatnot. This particular car has over 540,000 kilometers on it. So how's the wear and tear after over 500,000 Ks? Unbelievably good. Like areas that I thought would be terrible, like all this sort of painted plastic, I thought it'd be just scratched to pieces, but it's not. It's actually looking pretty good. All the switchgear, it feels good. Door cards, all the plastics feels good. There's a few scratches and stuff. Seats, like we can't see the actual material because they've got seat covers on them, but you'd assume therefore that underneath the seat covers, the material would be really good. Steering wheel, it's got a cover as well, but the gear knob, it's like, okay, over 500,000 Ks. it's great. Now, as far as practicality goes, you do have door bins, but they're crap. They're super thin, and you can't actually get to them when the door's closed if you've got arms. There's a spot for any of secrets you have. You can put little secrets in there. Glove box, not a great size, to be honest. There is sort of a spot for your phone here, like a little slidey panel, but that's actually sort of coming apart at the moment. There's no dedicated cup holders, which is weird for this age of vehicle. You do have a couple little storage cubby holes here that I suppose you could use as a cup holder, but they're not dedicated cup holders. And there's a really large spot for sunglasses or maybe work goggles up there. That's it for practicality up front. Now in the back seat, I'm exactly 9 centimeters taller than iconic Indian actor Shah Rukh Khan. This is in my driving position. Pretty bloody good. Like comfort-wise, it's no more or less comfortable than any other dual cab ute out there. Seating position's quite nice. You actually sit a little bit higher than the driver's seat, so you could almost call it kind of tiered stadium seating. With the headrest down, it's really uncomfortable. Make sure you got the headrest up, but yeah, good amount of foot room, good knee room. It's not too bad. Just another thing on seat comfort, there's not much of a transmission tunnel, so if you're sitting in the middle, it's not too bad. As far as wear and tear goes, like these things get a hell of a workout, and yeah, you can tell there's a few marks on the door cards, and these seat covers are pretty filthy. The roof as well is pretty disgusting, but that's to be expected. And then practicality in the back seat, it's interesting. So first of all, you've got a spot which we assumed was for your phone, but it doesn't fit at all. Maybe like a 3210 or like a little walkie-talkie. No cup holders technically in the front, but there are like big bottle holders in the doors down here. Map pockets, obviously. Another two, I suppose they're cup holders, like in the center console, but they're angled, so they're only really cup holders if you're hard on the brakes and gravity is forcing the liquid at the bottom of the canister, the vessel that your liquid comes in. Otherwise, it's just going to pour out everywhere. Funnily enough, onto a 12-volt power outlet. One of the only dual cab utes in this class with air vents in the back, which is cool. Also forgot to mention up front, it has like the armrests, so you can have like kind of captain's chairs. Speaking of armrests, armrest here in the middle. Also, you can put some stuff under the seat, but overall, as far as practicality in the back seat goes, yeah, interesting. Actually, just on the air conditioning, because these were built and engineered and designed for India, the air conditioning in this thing is possibly the most efficient and coldest aircon I've ever experienced. Now, practicality in the back, guys. It's a dual cab ute. Obviously, it's practical back here, but here's some facts. As far as towing goes, it's not quite up there with some of the competition. These are rated at 2,500 kg, but the payload capacity is 995 kg, which is up there with some of the best in its class. But in saying that, if you've seen any clips from how they load utes in India, that payload capacity is easily exceeded. Right, what stuff do you get? As far as connecting your phone goes, if you want Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, you're going to have to look at an S10 Plus or an S11. Otherwise, you're going to have to fit an aftermarket head unit. Otherwise, you're going to be relying on purely Bluetooth. Unless, of course, you're looking at one of the really early S6s, in which case you're going to have to pair your AirPod Pros to your phone, because early S6s, they don't even have Bluetooth. Otherwise, base spec S6s get like 90s levels of features. S10s add, let's say, 2000s levels of features. The S6 Plus editions moves us up into the 20 teens. But the S10 Plus and S11, they're, let's say, kind of appropriate for now. Now look, obviously there is way more to the features on these pickups, and if you do need all the specific details, or maybe like the ultimate used Mahindra Pik-Up buyer's guide, go to ReDriven.com and check out this car's completely free and awesome cheat sheet. Now, I should mention, not only are the features a little bit underwhelming, plenty of owners have complained about the infotainment systems. Basically, the native software that they run is not intuitive. Some things can kind of completely drop out. The satellite navigation is complete shit. And a lot of owners complain that the cameras they use for reversing, it looks like the camera is made from potato. Now, safety-wise, yeah, it's interesting. So ANCAP gave these a 3-star safety rating, but that was way back in 2012. And even now you can forget about anything like side curtain airbags or autonomous emergency braking, really any of the stuff that we do expect. But to take you through what safety features that you can expect on a pickup, how about we let Indian acting legend Shah Rukh Khan take you through what it's got.
You'll receive ABS brakes, stability control, dual front airbags, front seat belt pretensioners, doors, a roof, but not much more.
Now, you know what? I thought driving this would be like stepping decades back in time, but you know what? It's not too bad. It's no better or worse than stacks of other dual cab utes out there. Look, if you compare it to the more, I suppose, lifestyle-focused dual cab utes out there, yeah, it feels a bit more like driving a light truck than any of those, but because of that, it has its own charm and character, and it's, dare say, kind of fun. Also, it feels smaller than what it is, and also because it's so boxy, like frontwards, judging parameters is an absolute breeze. Parking's no problem. Rearwards, however, yeah, like some sensors would be nice. The reversing camera is good, but there's a few blind spots back there. Now, like performance-wise, obviously not really impressive. Even if you kind of throw it back a couple of gears, it doesn't exactly move forward with any kind of real enthusiasm. But the problem with that is once you kind of load it up with any weight, expect a slow old trip. Now, the ride quality with nothing in the back is pretty much the same as the rest of the competition, kind of bounces all over the place. And handling and steering is, yeah, the same as a lot of the competition as well, just as vague as them. Now, noises-wise, I was expecting plenty of rattles and it to sound pretty horrible in here, but it doesn't. Like, engine-wise, it does sound like a kind of clattery old truck. That's to be expected, but there are hardly any rattles in here. And even like wind and road noise, not too bad. Now, look, if you're driving around on a sealed surface, it is rear-wheel drive only, but if you're on an unsealed surface, you can choose between, you know, full drive, high range, or low range. It does have a locking rear diff, but it's an automatic locking rear diff. That might upset some like hardcore off-roading people out there, but for normal people, it'll do the job just fine. It'll handle off-roading fine. Look, I'm really honestly surprised at how cohesive it all feels, especially after over 500,000 kilometers. It's genuinely impressive. It feels, funnily enough, a lot like driving a 70 Series Land Cruiser. In some ways, it actually feels better than driving a 70 Series Land Cruiser. One negative, turning circle, terrible. It's kind of like a cruise ship. Look, it's also really important to know that Mahindra have really torture tested these things in the Aussie outback to, you know, build them to suit our needs. And yeah, you can tell. It's just a bloody shame that we now have to tell you everything that can go wrong with them. Okay, what goes wrong with these things? Let's start with the exterior. And you know what? Generally speaking, not a whole lot goes wrong. Look, there are some owners that claim they have some pretty interesting fit, finish, and build quality issues, but in saying that, at the other end of the spectrum, there are plenty of owners that claim they've had no issues whatsoever. Look, when you're looking at a vehicle this cheap, you're running a risk that you might have an example here and there that might be a complete lemon, but that kind of goes for all cars at any budget. Another thing that can go wrong actually has nothing to do with the Mahindra and completely to do with you. See, way too many people drive around with crappy wiper blades, and it can be dangerous because it means you can't see where you're going. So to fix this, just hit the WiperTech link down there. That way you can get some of the very best wiper blades we've ever used. They're easy to order online, they're shipped to your door, plus that link is going to get you free express shipping and 15% off. Look, when it comes to exterior problems, the only issues that we could find were generally related to aftermarket modifications that were, you know, cheap, dodgy items that weren't fitted correctly, and that then leads to other problems. So not Mahindra or the Pickup's fault, but just shitty mods. And the same sort of goes for inside as well. Guys, if you're buying one of these and it has any aftermarket equipment fitted, please make sure it works. We're talking like aftermarket cruise control, light bars, really anything, please. You'd be amazed how many people don't check this stuff. Make sure it works. Actually, you know what? Just go and watch our ultimate 4x4 buyer's guide because it could save you a fortune. Now, in terms of common issues inside with these, apparently on the S11 models, the more recent ones, the cruise control, it can be really sluggish and even just turn itself off when it feels like it. Some examples can have speedometers that read incorrectly, but that's generally fixed up under warranty. And as I alluded to before, the bloody infotainment systems, Bluetooth dropping out, cameras not working, just you name the problem, chances are it'll have it. Actually, one of the weirder things it does, apparently for some owners, when you connect your phone or music via Bluetooth, it only plays in mono, not stereo, and also the fuel gauge can read incorrectly. They're more sporadic complaints, but they happen. Oh, also, actually on this specific pickup, the seat bases have broken a couple of times and obviously needs to be fixed. But you got to remember, over 500,000 Ks, dozens and dozens of different people of all shapes and sizes drive this thing. So if you're buying a pickup, chances are the seat base is going to be just fine. Actually, speaking of this exact example, we've got to say a massive thank you to Megan and everybody at Valley Express for not only lending us their pickup, but also taking us through what it's like to own multiples of these for hundreds of thousands of Ks. Secondly, Mahindra and pickup owners groups, you guys are legends. Thank you for all of your help. And thirdly, thank you. Guys, as we're filming this, we just topped 180,000 subscribers. That blows our mind. We couldn't have done it without your support, and we promise you you. The more of you that support us by hitting that subscribe button, the bigger and better videos we can make for you. Now, mechanically, what goes wrong with the pickup? Well, I can't tell you. I'm not a qualified mechanic, but Jim is.
These things can be a bit hit and miss. There are the people like Valley Express and the millions of people in India who have had no problems and clocked up hundreds of thousands of Ks, and then there are the people that have had all of the problems. Interestingly though, there are very few reported cases of catastrophic engine failure, which you do see in a lot of other very late model and very expensive other utes you can buy. Ranger. There are plenty of other less serious problems. You know, there are a lot of reports of turbo failures. Oh wait, there's lots of turbo failures in Tritons too. But anyway, other issues you might see are EGR related problems, and some people choose to delete it, which is highly illegal, wouldn't recommend that. There are a few reports of DPF complications, and also DPF complications that are related to the AdBlue system, which is only the later model ones. The AdBlue system has an issue with the level sensor and reads high, reads low, and doesn't read at all. So definitely something to look out for. Some owners have experienced a wide range of electrical gremlins, from minor glitches to complete vehicle shutdowns. In some cases, there have been whole wiring harnesses and engine bay looms especially replaced under warranty, and that's happened twice on one vehicle that we know of. The drivetrain too, it has its fair share of problems. There have been a few cases of complete transmission failure which have been covered under warranty, but more often it's issues like oil leaks and selector issues and just notchy and noisy operation in general. And speaking of drivetrain oil leaks, it's a very common problem that the transfer case breather just spews out oil. Now the fix for that is they just add in an extended section of hose just to raise the level of it. Seems to fix it. Further down the drivetrain, there's plenty of reports of the universal joints failing prematurely, and a lot of cases where the center bearing just fails or just becomes very noisy, and some of those center bearing failures can be attributed to tail shaft imbalance problems. There's a lot of reported cases of abnormal noise and vibration from the rear brakes from new. Typically the fix there is they just machine the rear drums, and that seems to take care of that. The front auto locking hubs can be a bit problematic. Now some people just choose to ditch them entirely and they fit a set of aftermarket manual hubs, and that's a pretty easy fix, that one. Now if you have one of these, it's a good idea to get your mechanic, or do it yourself if you're that way inclined, to spanner check everything in the steering and suspension area. In fact, spanner check everything that's bolted to the chassis rail. There have been plenty of reports of things just working loose and failing and just breaking off, so have a good look at that. Now some of those things working loose and falling off have been blamed on sketchy pre-delivery services at the dealership. Now that's just allegations, I can't actually comment on that. And speaking of dealerships, now I'm just going to say there are some really good ones out there with some very talented and very helpful people. But some people's experiences have been terrible. There's complaints of skill shortages, complaints of unreasonable warranty assessments, and the availability of parts to fix those warranty problems. Now it is a low volume vehicle and the dealerships for these are widely scattered, so that can make some ownership issues a little bit difficult. Because yeah, a cheap ute is really no good to you if it's off the road for weeks while you're waiting for parts, is it?
Now look guys, obviously not every pickup is going to have these problems. Plenty of owners have never had an issue. Valley Express that have 5 of these, over 500,000 kilometers. Some of them are like even pushing 1,000,000 Ks. No dramas whatsoever. But even though they've had no problems, should you buy one? Well, it's important to remember, these were built to handle Indian conditions. That means everything from rainforests to deserts to the Himalayas to some of the most intense traffic situations in the world, all while using less than optimal fuel, getting interesting levels of servicing and being used for quite literally anything and everything. Look, they obviously lack loads of the creature comforts of much of the competition, but if you're after like a tough, rugged, no-nonsense work or adventure vehicle, for what these are asking, it's not so much a matter of should you buy one, but like what else could you buy? The range of Tritons, Navaras, Hiluxes, D-Max, Colorados, and all the rest for the same sort of asking price will be far older and substantially more used. A SsangYong Musso EX or a Great Wall Steed of about the same age, look, yeah, they offer great value for money, but neither are as tough as the Mahindra. The LDV T60, it's loaded with kit, but it lacks the Mahindra's proven track record, and as we found in our full review, there are some concerns. That video review is down there, as is our full review of this car's most direct competitor, the 70 Series Land Cruiser, which, while look, arguably matching the Mahindra for toughness and a sense of purpose, offers a far larger support network and substantially superior resale value. And see, that's the issue right there, because for around about $40,000, you can get either pretty much a brand new S10 Plus with minimal kilometers in mint condition, or for the same money, like a 10-year-old Land Cruiser with well over 300,000 Ks on the clock. And look, before all of you Land Cruiser fans start yelling at me about toughness and reliability, guys, these people have 5 of these things. They've all got well over 500,000 kilometers on them, and they've had barely an issue with any of them. So should you buy one? Yeah, 100%. Yes, you should buy one. They are brilliant. They're pretty bloody ugly, but they're brilliant. So guys, we need to know, like, would you buy one of these over a 70 series, or would you buy something completely different? Let us know in the comments. See you next time. Hey, do you want to know all the important... Oh, not that flexible. Okay, good to go? Shush, shush. This has potentially the most efficient air conditioning. Look, overall with exterior problems, the only real issues that we could uncover generally relate just a tough and rugged, rugged's not a word.